My name is Dawn Pimentel. I'm 25 years old, and if you ask me what my family means to me, I wouldn't know how to answer. Not anymore. Not after what happened 8 years ago. The day my mother, my father, and even my own twin sister decided I was disposable. But to understand how I got there, you need to know where I came from. I grew up in a family where everyone breathed sports. My dad was a star basketball player in high school. My mom played volleyball. My older sisters were the kind of girls coaches brag about. One played softball, the other ran track. And then there was my twin sister, Carla. Fast, loud, charming, always winning trophies. The golden child. And then there was me. I wasn't weak. I wasn't lazy. I just liked something different. Archery. Quiet, precise, controlled. The opposite of the chaos inside my home. To my family, archery wasn't a sport. It was a joke. They called it a wimpy hobby, a phase, a way for Dawn to avoid real competition. They never came to my tournaments unless I begged. Between ages 14 and 16, I competed in 20 different archery events. My parents showed up once. I wasn't neglected, not physically, but emotionally, I was a ghost drifting through my own house. And every time I tried to talk about it, they told me I was dramatic or begging for attention. But all of that, all the quiet resentment, the loneliness, none of that is why I was disowned. No, the real story started when I was 15. That's when I met Ryan. He sat next to me in history class, tapping his pencil on his notebook while pretending he wasn't staring at me. He was the first person to really ask about my archery medals, to actually hear my answers. By 6 months, we were inseparable. By 3 years, I was convinced he was the boy I'd marry. And I was stupidly proud of that. So when I introduced Ryan to my family, I prayed, just once, that they'd be proud of me too. They loved him immediately. My mom hugged him. My dad joked with him. Carla, well, she flirted. But Carla flirted with everyone, so I didn't think much of it. I should have. 3 years into the relationship, just after I turned 18, one of Carla's old friends messaged me. She said Ryan was cheating with someone close to me, someone who looked at me like a rival. I confronted Ryan. I expected denial, tears, explanations. Instead, he said one name, Carla, my twin, my other half, the person who grew up sleeping 3 feet away from me, sharing clothes with me, whispering secrets to me under blankets. She stole him, and she didn't even apologize. Ryan said, I cared about you, but what I felt for Carla, it was stronger. Something inside me snapped. I marched home and found Carla in the kitchen. She smirked, actually smirked, when she saw my face. Dawn, calm down. It's not my fault he chose me. I didn't scream. I didn't even think. My fist moved before my brain did. Years of being overshadowed, ignored, minimized. It all erupted. I hit her. She fell. My father yanked me away like I was some wild animal. My mom rushed to Carla, holding her like she was the only daughter she ever had. And then everything moved fast. They threatened to press charges. They said I was a danger. They said I attacked both my sister and my family unity. They didn't ask what happened. They didn't care why. They handed me an ultimatum. Leave peacefully, or they'd let the police handle it. So I left, not to a friend's house, not to a relative nearby. They sent me away to live with my estranged aunt, the one they hadn't spoken to in years, 2 hours from home. I remember looking out the car window, counting the streetlights as Dad drove me away, refusing to look at me. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't say he loved me. He didn't even slow the car down. The last thing he said before I got out was, "You brought this on yourself." I don't remember what I said back, or if I said anything at all. My aunt hugged me at her doorway, surprised and confused. I told her I didn't want to talk about it. Not yet. Not when everything still felt like a wound actively bleeding. For the first week, I cried every night. For the next month, I tried to stop caring. And for the next 8 years, I built a life where none of them existed. At least, I thought I did. Because 8 years later, my phone lit up with a message from the last people I ever expected to hear from. My parents, inviting me, my husband, and our daughter, for Christmas. And they weren't the only ones. Both my older sisters sent friend requests. Carla, my twin, the one who stole my boyfriend, the one I hit, didn't message me, but she didn't need to. My whole past was suddenly knocking on my door. But the real twist, the real reason they reached out, I didn't know it yet, but when I found out, it made the betrayal 8 years ago look small. When I turned 18, I didn't think I'd ever rebuild myself. But life has a funny way of changing shape when you're forced to start over. Living with my aunt, Aunt Maricel, gave me a kind of quiet I'd never had before. She didn't ask me to perform, didn't expect perfection, didn't compare me to Carla even once. She just let me exist, breathe, heal. And in that stillness, I found space to grow. I transferred schools, kept my head down, and poured myself into studying. My aunt cheered at my archery matches. She attended every competition with her ridiculous cowbell, embarrassing me in the best possible way. For the first time, I felt seen for something other than being the disappointment of the Pimentel family. After high school, I pushed myself even harder, got into a university in Miami, majoring in electrical engineering. It was hard, brutally hard at first, but every late-night study session felt like a step away from the girl who once begged her parents to show up. By graduation, I had job offers lined up. By 22, I was thriving. And somewhere along that journey, in a twist I never saw coming, Ryan found his way back into my life. We ran into each other at a tech conference. My heart dropped when I saw him, like muscle memory tugging at an old wound. He froze too, guilt flooding his face so quickly I almost felt bad for him. He apologized. Really apologized. Not excuses, not shifting blame, just pure remorse for the 17-year-old kid who made the worst mistake of his life. I didn't forgive him right away. It took time, long conversations, therapy, boundaries, rebuilding. But eventually, I let myself love him again. 2 years later, we got married. Now we live an hour from my aunt, in a small house with wide windows and a backyard where my daughter, Elena, learned to walk. We built a quiet life, gentle and unremarkable, exactly what I'd always wanted. Which brings me to last week. I had just finished putting Elena down for a nap when I opened Facebook to clear notifications. At the top of my inbox, message request from Mom and Dad. My breath caught. I didn't move for 5 whole seconds. Then another notification. Friend request. Lucia Pimentel, oldest sister. Friend request. Serena Pimentel, middle sister. My stomach twisted. My pulse started pounding in my ears. And then the message preview appeared. We want to reconnect for Christmas. We'd love for you, Ryan, and Elena to join us. My hands started shaking. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't remorse, it wasn't even personal. It was an invitation. 8 years of silence, 8 years of pretending I didn't exist, and they wanted Christmas? I showed Ryan the message. He stared at it for a long moment, jaw tightening. You don't owe them anything, he said quietly. If you decide to go, Elena and I will stay with my dad. You shouldn't face that kind of stress while you're pregnant. Pregnant. The words still felt fragile in the air, like it could shatter if we said it too loudly. But we never got to celebrate it. 2 days after Christmas, everything collapsed. I woke up with stabbing pain in my abdomen, the kind that steals your breath and folds your body in half. Ryan's sister rushed us to the hospital. The room spun, the white lights blurred, and the doctor's face, the one expression I will never forget, told me before the words did. I'd lost the baby. It took surgery, 2 more days in the hospital, and the hardest conversation I've ever had, telling Ryan what had happened. Grief changes the way time feels. Hours start dragging and collapsing at the same time. The world keeps turning, but you're suspended in this cold, heavy fog. My parents messaged again, asking if I'd made my holiday decision yet. I blocked them for a day, unblocked out of curiosity, blocked again. But grief has a strange way of making you search for answers you don't want. Something felt off about their sudden interest. I couldn't explain it, but I felt it crawling under my skin. So I started looking. I looked through my sister's social media. Their marriages, their kids, their jobs. Everyone was doing fine, thriving even. No struggle, no crisis that would suddenly make them need me. Then I called my aunt. Her voice was serious from the moment she answered. They didn't tell you, did they? She said. Tell me what? A pause, a long, cold pause. Why they're really reaching out. I felt my throat go dry. Then tell me. She sighed, a heavy, heartbreaking sigh that carried 8 years of secrets. Dawn, your parents didn't reach out because they miss you. They reached out because they're being forced to. My heartbeat stuttered. Forced by who? Another pause. Your grandfather. Silence stretched between us. What does Grandpa have to do with this? I whispered. And then she told me why my family had pretended I didn't exist for 8 years. Why they hadn't defended me when Carla destroyed my life. Why they were suddenly crawling back now. And the truth made the betrayal 8 years ago look small. Dawn, your grandfather threatened to cut the entire family out of his will unless they apologized to you and invited you to Christmas. I didn't breathe, couldn't breathe. My aunt's voice kept going, but everything in my chest tightened like a fist around my ribs. What? I barely recognized my own voice. Your grandpa has been asking about you, she said softly, for over a month now. When he found out your parents hadn't spoken to you in 8 years, he demanded answers. Real answers. I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the blanket. What did they tell him? I whispered. My aunt hesitated, and then the world tilted. Dawn, they lied about you. All of them. Lied how? They told your grandfather you cheated on Ryan. They said you were caught with one of your own friends. They said Carla walked in on you, that you attacked her to cover it up, and that your older sister tried to stop you, and you assaulted her too. I felt heat crawl up my back, cold and burning at the same time. My family didn't just throw me away. They rewrote the story, turned me into the villain so they could protect Carla, their precious golden girl. That's ridiculous, I whispered. None of that is true. None of it. I know, my aunt said. I told your grandfather everything. The real version. What Carla did, what Ryan admitted, why you snapped, why they sent you away. My eyes burned. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. What did he say? He was shocked, angry. He admitted he always thought Carla was the innocent one. He believed your parents without question all these years. I felt something inside me crack, slow and painful. My own family painted me as a monster to hide Carla's betrayal, and they'd rather erase me than admit she was capable of anything. My aunt wasn't finished. And when your grandfather confronted them, he told your parents and sisters that unless they apologized and brought you home for Christmas, he'd remove them from his will, completely. So that's why, I whispered, that's why they suddenly want me. For money, she said. Not love, not reconciliation, money. Everything in me went cold. 8 years. 8 years of silence. 8 years of pretending I didn't exist. All because my grandfather's approval meant more to them than my life. I felt sick. My aunt wasn't done. There's something else, she said. Your grandfather asked for your phone number. They refused to give it. I didn't. Even now, he doesn't know how to reach you. I let out a shaky exhale. A part of me was furious. Another part was numb. Another part, the part still bleeding over the miscarriage, just wanted to sleep for a year. Dawn, my aunt said gently, you don't deserve this. None of it. You never did. I closed my eyes. My throat tightened. My heart pulled itself in 2 directions. Anger and something deeper, something exhausted and bruised. Do I talk to him? I finally asked. Grandpa? I don't know, she admitted, but he wants to talk to you, and, Dawn, he thinks he owes you. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Later that night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I stared at it for a long moment before answering. Hello? A shaky but familiar voice came through the speaker. Dawn, my dear, I'm so sorry. My breath caught. Grandpa? I had no idea, he whispered. I believed them. I believed everything, and I am ashamed. The apology hit me harder than I expected. Not because it fixed anything, but because it came from the one person I never blamed. He talked for 30 minutes, about regret, about missing my milestones, about wanting to make amends while he still could. Then he said it. I've rewritten my will. You're included now, and your parents, well, they won't be happy. I clenched my jaw. I don't want their money, I said quietly. No, he replied, but you deserve what was denied to you because of lies. And for a moment, a short, trembling moment, I thought maybe things could heal, slowly, carefully. But then he kept talking. I am disappointed, though, he said gently, that your daughter doesn't carry the Pimentel name. Legacy matters, my girl. My stomach turned. My grief sharpened into something fierce. Legacy? I snapped. After everything they did to me? After believing lies about your own granddaughter? You want to talk about legacy? He fell silent. You don't get to question how I name my child, I said, voice breaking. You don't get to have opinions about her when you didn't care enough to know the truth about me. Dawn! No, you had 8 years to ask questions. You chose not to. I hung up. And for a long time, I stared at the wall, my breathing loud in the quiet room. Then I blocked his number. I thought that was the end of it. I thought I could finally close the door. But 3 days later, an unknown caller appeared on my work phone. And this time, it was Grandpa again. Not apologizing, not justifying. Warning me. Your family knows they're being cut from the will. They're furious, and they are coming for you. When I answered the call, my grandfather didn't waste a second. Dawn, listen to me, he said, voice trembling but urgent. Your parents know. Your sisters know. Carla knows. Someone in the family leaked the changes to my will. My pulse spiked. Of course they did. 8 years of silence. 8 years of pretending I didn't exist. And the moment they sensed the money slipping away, they exploded. What do they want? I asked quietly. They're blaming you, he said. All of them. I almost laughed. A bitter, humorless sound. The story of my life. But don't worry, he continued, his voice gaining heat. I told them exactly why I made the change. I read them the truth. I told them the lies they fed me about you were unforgivable. Then he added, they didn't take it well. Of course they didn't. Within 24 hours, my phone turned into a battlefield. Facebook inbox, 98 new messages. Missed calls, 17. Unknown numbers, 6. Most were from family I hadn't heard from in years. Cousins, uncles, aunts, people who never liked me, but suddenly remembered my existence. Ryan watched from across the room as my phone buzzed nonstop. Don't answer, he said softly. I didn't plan to. But I couldn't stop reading. Message from Lucia. Dawn, how could you do this to us? You manipulated Grandpa. You always wanted attention. Message from Serena. We're family. You owe us a conversation. Message from a cousin I barely remembered. Hey, cuz. Long time. Hope all's good. Anyway, I heard about Grandpa's will. Can we chat real quick? It only got worse. Message from Aunt Gloria. I always knew something was off about you. Poor Carla. After everything she sacrificed for you, this is how you repay her? Carla didn't message me. Of course she didn't. She never needed to. She had a whole army doing her dirty work. By that evening, I turned off all notifications, blocked numbers, blocked accounts, even logged out of social media. But the next morning, 3 knocks came at my front door. Not pounding, not aggressive, worse. Soft, cautious, familiar. Ryan touched my arm. Stay here. He opened the door only a crack. Standing on the porch, my older sister Serena. Her face looked tired, drained, but her eyes, cold and sharp as always, scanned the inside of our home like she was assessing property. We need to talk to Dawn, she said. You need to leave, Ryan replied. She ignored him completely. Dawn, she called, voice rising. We deserve a conversation. I stepped into view, but I didn't open the door wider. What do you want? Her lips twitched like she wanted to cry, but didn't know how. You ruined everything, she whispered. Do you understand that? Grandpa is cutting all of us out. Over you. I didn't do anything, I said calmly. You lied for 8 years. That doesn't justify this, Serena hissed. Legacy money isn't supposed to go to someone whose child doesn't even carry the family name. Ah, there it was. The real anger. Not over lies, not over betrayal, not over what Carla did. Over a surname. I'm not discussing this, I said, stepping back. She shoved her hand in the doorframe. Dawn, please. Ryan closed the door with more force than usual, and her hand jerked out just in time. We stood there, both shaking, listening as her footsteps faded down the walkway. That was the moment I realized. This was far from over. Because desperate people do desperate things. And it didn't take long for them to escalate. The lawsuit. The letter came 3 days later. Certified mail. Thick envelope. Our names printed in bold. Ryan looked at me. I already knew. A lawsuit. I opened it slowly. My hands trembled. They were suing us on 2 fronts. Claiming I was unfit to inherit because my children would not carry the Pimentel surname. Accusing me of breaking family lineage. Claiming Grandpa was mentally incompetent when he wrote the will, and that I manipulated him during a vulnerable moment. The lies stunned me, even after everything. But the one that broke me, they accused me of isolating Grandpa from the family. A man they hadn't visited in months. A man they had abandoned unless money was involved. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there as the weight of it all pressed down, heavier than anything I had felt since the miscarriage. Ryan sat beside me, squeezing my hand. We'll fight this, he said. Grandpa called minutes later, furious, breath shaking. They think they can bully you, he growled. They think they can bully me. I will not allow it. For the first time, my grandfather wasn't a passive figure in the family drama. He became a soldier. He hired a top lawyer, one known for dismantling inheritance disputes with surgical precision. He gathered medical documents proving his mental competency. He collected testimonies from friends, neighbors, doctors. He refused to let my parents or sisters manipulate the legal system. Court hearings were tense, cold rooms filled with expensive suits and thicker lies. But Grandpa was a storm. A calm, dangerous storm who looked the judge in the eye and said, "My granddaughter has more integrity than the rest of them combined." The case was a landslide victory. The judge dismissed their claims instantly, called their arguments baseless and malicious. ordered my family to pay all legal fees, mine and Grandpa's. It should have ended there, but toxic families don't accept defeat. The day after the ruling, they showed up again, crying, begging, swearing they missed me, that Carla was sorry, that we should rebuild things. I didn't say a word. I simply closed the door and locked it. My grandfather called that night, voice tired but proud. "You did well," he said. "You stood your ground." But there was something else in his tone, something hollow, something final. "Dawn," he whispered, "I'm not feeling well. I think my time might be shorter than we hoped." And just like that, everything inside me froze. Again, my grandfather's decline happened faster than anyone expected. 1 week after he told me he wasn't feeling well, he was hospitalized. 2 weeks later, he passed away. The news hit me hard, harder than I thought it would. Maybe because he was the only one who bothered to try. Maybe because he was the only blood relative who ever apologized. Or maybe because he represented something I'd never had, an adult who regretted not protecting me sooner. The funeral was small, quiet, no theatrics, no grand gestures. My parents and sisters were there, but they stayed far on the opposite side of the room, whispering to each other and glaring like I'd personally dug the grave. Ryan held my hand through the entire service. My aunt cried openly. Elena tugged on my sleeve and whispered, "Mama sad?" I kissed her forehead. "Just remembering someone important," I said. That night, after everyone had left, the executor of my grandfather's estate handed me a sealed envelope. My name was written on the front in his familiar, precise handwriting. From your Lolo Miguel, grandfather. I waited until I got home to open it. Inside was a 3-page handwritten letter, every word deliberate, steady, and soft in a way he'd never spoken aloud. He apologized for believing lies about me, for trusting my parents blindly, for not questioning the family narrative sooner, for failing me when I needed him most, for letting 8 years pass without hearing my side. He wrote that he admired me, that I lived with strength he wished he'd had, that he regretted not knowing Ryan sooner or holding Elena while he still had the strength to lift her. Then came the lines that made my hands shake. "I leave my estate to you, not because of obligation, but because you are the only Pimentel who carries integrity. Not the name, the integrity. Spend it however brings you peace." I cried until the ink blurred, until Ryan wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "He meant every word." But peace was something my family would never allow. The will reading and the explosion. 3 days later, the official reading took place. My family showed up dressed like they were attending a royal ceremony. Designer clothes, expensive jewelry, forced solemnity. Carla wore white, as if she were the grieving widow of an empire. When the lawyer announced the inheritance, which totaled between $2 to $3 million in assets, the room went silent. Dead silent. Then the bomb dropped. He left everything to me. Everything. The Pimentels erupted. My mother gasped like she'd been stabbed. My father slammed his fist on the table. Lucia broke into hysterical tears. Serena stood up, shouting about bloodline and tradition and ungrateful children. Carla just stared at me. Her face didn't move, her expression blank, terrifyingly blank. I didn't flinch, I didn't even blink. The lawyer continued reading. "And to my granddaughter Dawn, I leave this inheritance free from obligation. She owes the family nothing." If my sisters had been furious before, this sent them into hysteria. Lucia lunged toward me, pointing accusingly. "You did something! You tricked him! You manipulated him when he was sick!" Serena chimed in, her voice cracking. "You think you deserve this? After everything you did to this family?" I stood calm as ice. "I didn't lie for 8 years," I said. "I didn't destroy anyone's relationship. I didn't rewrite history. You all did that." Carla finally spoke, quiet but so venomous. "You should have stayed gone." Ryan stepped in front of me. "She did," he said calmly. "You're the ones who dragged her back." That shut them up for a moment. The next wave of greed. After the will reading, my phone exploded again. This time it wasn't anger. It was begging. Desperate, humiliating begging. Message from Lucia. "We're losing the house. Can you lend us something? Just a little? Please, don't punish the kids." Message from Serena. "My husband lost his job. We're drowning. Dawn, I'm your sister." Message from Carla. "We need to talk, privately. It's important." I didn't respond to any of them. Not one. Because grief and money are mirrors. They show people exactly who they really are. My family had shown me who they were too many times. Legal protection. Given everything that happened with the previous lawsuit, Ryan and I consulted our lawyer immediately. He told us, Keep records of every message. Don't reply. Prepare for potential challenges. Expect manipulation, guilt, and emotional ambushes. But most importantly, your grandfather's will is airtight. They can't touch it. For the first time in months, I felt myself exhale fully. What we did with the inheritance. Ryan and I sat down for hours talking about what felt right. We decided a trust fund for Elena, a savings fund for future kids, paying off our house, helping my aunt retire, donating a portion to a foundation supporting kids estranged from toxic families. My grandfather wanted peace for me. This was the closest thing to honoring that wish. The final shut door. Last week, I boxed up the last of my childhood belongings. Old school medals, notebooks, a photo of me and Carla when we were still little girls wearing matching dresses. I held the picture for a long time, studied the innocence, the closeness, before the world taught us our roles. Then I burned it, watched it curl into ash, watched my past turn to smoke, watched every lie, every betrayal dissolve into the air. Ryan wrapped his arms around me. "You're free now," he whispered.